Officer of Program Development is the world, celebrate our achievers, unveil the core potential of the nation, and also celebrate those who have contributed immensely to building our country. Today's program is education, and our guest in the program today is Mr. Akintunde Sawyerr. He is the MDC of NELFUND.
Mandate, as described in the act that was signed into law by His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. The mandate that he signed into law allows us, as NELFUND, to engage and intervene in the process of students who want to get tertiary education in Nigeria, in a Nigerian institution owned by government, and have difficulty or challenges raising financing to be able to attend those institutions. Our mandate is to intervene and provide funding, financing, if you like, for them to be able to attend institutions at tertiary level, universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, both at state and federal level. Pretty straightforward. First of all, you have to be a Nigerian. And the way we qualify that is that you have to have a national identification number. So you have to have registered yourself with NIMSI, who will then give you a national identification number. The other thing is that for the loanees or the students to be able to access the loan, they need to be in or about to join an institution of the nature that I described earlier. And they need to have accessed that institution through JAM. It's pretty straightforward. I can tell you for certain, we never disburse cash. We never disburse in ways that are not traceable and trackable. We disburse funds directly to institutions where students have told us that they are attending, and the institutions have confirmed that there are students there, with the process, of course, of application and verification sitting in the middle of that. So once we get that, we disburse directly from our account at the Central Bank of Nigeria to the account provided to us by the institution. If they're a federal institution, then it's usually their bank account with the Central Bank of Nigeria. If it's a state-owned institution, it could be at the Central Bank, but it could also be a commercial bank. So that's for the institutional payments. We also provide upkeep, stipend, pocket money, depending on how you want to describe it. We pay that direct to the students. Now, going back to what you were saying about eligibility earlier, if you don't have a bank account, a proper bank account and a BVN, you can't get this loan. So that's one of the key things for one of the key eligibility criteria. The other two that I should mention to you that were omitted earlier were a matriculation number and an admission number, so that we know you're there, or we know that the institutions that qualify have accepted you or are about to accept you, or you're already in the institution as a bona fide student. The total number of beneficiaries to date is 261,768 students. There are a few more that we're about to sign off now, but so far 261,000 students have benefited to date. Let me just define for you what I mean by benefited. All of these people have had their school fees paid. Many of them are receiving upkeep. The reason I said many of them are receiving upkeep is that not everybody opts for the upkeep option, but everyone in that 261,000 plus have had their fees paid by the NELFUND. Currently, we're paying 20,000 naira per month to students who are approved for a session, which means for 12 months, which is 240,000 naira. Disqualification can be providing false information during the application process. Disqualification can be due to cultism, can be due to committing crimes against the nation, against the country, rustication, cheating in exams, all of the things that potentially are against the law, or even expulsion from the institution. We're running an IT-based system, which basically means that it is almost impossible to receive 2 applications from an individual. And let me tell you how we determine who an individual is. No 2 people have the same JAM, NIN, BVN, matric number, or admission number in this country. All of these numbers are unique numbers to individuals, to you, to me. At least, we may not be jam bites, but, we have NIN, we have BVN. These are pretty restrictive. And essentially, for that reason, the system picks up, once you've put in those digits, those numbers, those identifiers, it disqualifies anybody else from bringing that documentation or those numbers through. What I can tell you immediately is that no politician in this country has approached us to give the loans to their preferred candidates. So there's a suggestion in the question, and I'm telling you today that no politician has approached NELFUND to ask us to do this. Of course, we have inquiries from people to say, I have some wards, I have some people in my constituency, how can they apply? And we tell them. In terms of the measures put in place to prevent this sort of thing from happening, the process is totally without human intervention. The 261,768 people that I said have applied never met anybody here. They might have been on one of our sensitization programs and seen us and asked us questions, but we don't get involved in the process of them going to the portal, nelf.gov.ng. They go to the portal and they apply. And from the time they apply to the time they receive their approval and the money, they don't meet anybody from NELFUND, ever. Awareness is a multi-channeled activity. So when you're creating awareness, you're talking about television, you're talking about radio, you're talking about social media, you're talking about print media. We have engaged extensively with social media in the first instance. But we've also had some television advertisements. We've had some public relations PR stories in the press, and we've had some. When we launched, we had some advertisements placed by friends of the fund. So we've been able to do that. But above all, and most effective, has been our sensitization visits to institutions across the country, where students gather. They're gathered by the institutions, authorities. We go into an auditorium. We present the facts on the loan and how to apply. We take questions, we engage, and then we hopefully convince those who need it, only those who need it, to take it. You asked a question earlier about how we determine who needs the loan. Look, this loan is open to all Nigerians. It's open to all Nigerians. We're not looking to eliminate anybody. It's a loan. It's not a gift. So if you want to apply for it, and you're going to be able to pay it back, you can come and apply for it. The truth about it is that people who need it are applying. Those who don't need it are tending not to apply. But it's a loan. Whether you need it and you apply, or you don't need it and you apply, you still have to pay it back at some point. First of all, the loan has no duration. You pay as you earn. If you don't earn, you don't pay. You pay whatever you are able to pay back. And the way it's set up is that nobody needs to pay or start paying until 2 years after, 2 years post NYSC. So you do your NYSC, you can wait for 2 years. Even if you're working, you don't have to pay. It allows you to settle in. 2 years after NYSC, repayments are supposed to start if you have a job. Those repayments are directly remitted by the employer. The person who has employed the person who has taken the loan checks the database to confirm that this is indeed the case. They take 10% of that person's wages or salary and they pay it back into the fund. In the event that the relationship between the employer and the employee falls apart and they're no longer working together, the payments stop. The fund is not expected to receive any funds, any repayment from somebody who doesn't have a job. Great achievements, I think, are launching the portal, on the 24th of May 2024. That was a major feat. On the 17th of July, His Excellency the President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, graced us with a formal presidential launch in the presidential villa. And there we were able to actually do some disbursements, some symbolic disbursements. That's a major achievement. But in terms of numbers, we've paid out over 22 billion in institutional fees. We've paid out about 13 billion so far in upkeep, stipend, pocket money, whatever we wish to call it. And I think for us, that's really major. We've also, I can tell you, paid this 22 billion plus naira to 194 institutions of state government and of federal government. So we're also contributing to the improvement of infrastructure in the non-profit sector of the educational system. Finally, one of the achievements that I think we're most proud of is the fact that we have to date over 500,000 Nigerian students who have registered on our portal and over 400,000 who have successfully applied. Doesn't mean they've been approved, they've just successfully applied. So the system is working. We're really proud of that, and it's growing by about 1,000 a day. Yesterday, I think we had 2,000 applications. On the academic side, we hope that we'll get to, 1.2, 1.5 million. But that's the sort of numbers that we see within the institutions that we're dealing with. Having said that, 400,000 people go into the sector. In other words, 400,000 people are admitted into the tertiary education space every year. So, if we get a good number of them, we may end up, even crossing a 2 million person mark. But let's see, we're taking this thing a day at a time. This is a new project. We want to be very careful, ensure that, we're giving the loans to the right people for the right courses. So we're going to be making some tweaks as we go along to make sure that this doesn't just benefit the students, but it actually also benefits the nation. Because if the nation is doing well, everybody will benefit. Some of our visible challenges are the skepticism, the doubts that Nigerians have that, look, is this real? Is this a scam? Will they pay? Is it a Ponzi scheme? Are they just there, chopping the money and not really intending to give it to students? That's a bit concerning because there's been such a trust deficit between the people and the what I would call the government. Not this government, but governments in the past. But this government is saddled with having to restore that credibility that government does what government says it's going to do. So that's been a challenge. The other challenges that I can see is obviously, it's an IT-based system. You need a device, an Android or a laptop or PC of sorts to be able to access it. We're very conscious that given the levels of need in this country, some people don't have those devices. They don't have those opportunities. Some people don't have even the money to buy the data to be able to complete the process. And we're looking for those people. We're hunting them now. We're trying to find them so that we can help them. Obviously, we are affiliated with many other government agencies, JAM, NIMSI, the Ministry of Education, the Office of the Secretary to the Government, the Presidency. These are government agencies, that we have to work with, the Central Bank, the NUC, the regulatory, what is MBT, NCC. These are the organizations that we have to work with because we are also playing in a space that they have significant stakeholder interest in. We haven't started to reach out to affiliates abroad. We want to get this right before we bring any foreign interference into it. And we want to make sure that we can build a homegrown service system that works well for us before we start trying to engage with others so that we're on top of our game before we start looking for people to come and tell us what or if or how to do. It doesn't mean we're arrogant. It doesn't mean we're not ready to learn from others. But that charity, as they say, begins at home. We develop our system first, and we will look at who we can work with. My name, as you know, is Akintunde Sawyerr. I've had a very long career in various industries. I've worked for many years in Europe, in pharmaceuticals, at very senior levels. I worked with Danish, German, Italian, US-based organizations. Beyond that, I ran supply chain into the National Health Service in the United Kingdom, working as a representative of DHL on the board of the London Procurement Programme back in 2006, £1 billion spending body where we helped to manage all supplies into the NHS. I worked as a sectoral head for DHL in the Middle East, where I ran a business across 21 countries within the region of the Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey. I was based out of Dubai. I worked as a director for Sub-Saharan Africa for Ibrahim Investments, which was a Saudi Arabian private equity company, and I ran that funding business. We were investing in various projects across Africa alongside African governments. So I engaged extensively with governments in Africa. I also ran a company called Medtronic, introduced the company into Sub-Saharan Africa and led that. Medtronic is the largest medical technology company in the world. I ran that initially across Africa, and then latterly I was in charge of 16 countries in West Africa. I've also done a wide range of consulting across the world, and in Nigeria, or even the German government. The most important thing, though, is that I've enjoyed myself, and I still am. You just have to find a way. My children have grown up; they found their own feet, so they're the ones who have to balance how they engage with me. I don't have to balance how I engage with them anymore. They should balance, look for me, and they're doing that. They're good people, great people, working across the world. My wife doesn't have time for me, she's too busy. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in my view, is unarguably the most courageous leader that this country has had in recent times. He has made some very, very bold and important decisions in the best interest of the nation. Sometimes these decisions are not in the best interest of the party even, because yes, the party is the vehicle that gets you there, but the nation is why you're there. I don't want to list the things that he's done, because I don't want to get that deep into it, but I think we all know that this country was on the brink of major difficulties, and he's made some very, very important decisions that have in the short term created some level of discomfort for Nigerians, but in the long term is going to help us greatly. He's made some very significant appointments into important roles that are making a difference. Again, I don't want to get into the politics by naming any specific person, but I think we all know who the significant appointees are, people who are change makers, who want to make things work properly. Education, I'll name obviously in education. We have a minister that wants to make changes, wants to do things very well. So I will publicly state that that's an important decision, because education, which is where we are, is critical to the survival of any nation. I think the president is brave, I think he's courageous, I think he's fearless, and I think he's determined to take this country to the next level. his renewed hope agenda is one that I personally buy into and will do anything to support. And the example of this student loan scheme is a clear one. It's easily have given palliatives to Nigerian students, easily have given gifts and what I call Greek gifts, things that look good on the surface but in the long run are not of any benefit to them. But what he's chosen to do is give them the greatest gift that a man or a woman can give his children, the gift of education. It doesn't get greater than that. And we were all in school at some point. We didn't want to go to school, but our parents said, you must go to school. And those of us who've been able to come through with an education now know why they were insisting, why they were making sacrifices, making themselves less comfortable in order to be able to educate their children. And you can see, those who took advantage of those things are very, very fortunate and doing well today. The president is doing this as a leader of the nation, and he's investing Nigeria's money in Nigeria's people. I don't know what more to say, but this is a man who must be supported, because in supporting him you're supporting yourself, you're making your own life better. It's not about psychophancy, it's not about wanting to improve your own personal career. It's about what's good for the country. I believe in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu genuinely, and I think and I wish him well, because it's not an easy job.
Time to outline the activities of the NELFUND and why all Nigerian youth out there need to take advantage of this. And also it took our time to outline why we all need to put our hands together and support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come 2027 election. It's like a very good, I remember Joseph Ujapon, right for now.